got me like.
Hello.
It's me.
Welcome to Cold Brew Got Me Like. It's Wednesday. Right? Wednesday the... Fuck, what? What day is today? Oh, good. Okay, so, thank you, Eric. So,
It's the
can
15th.
everybody...
I said
Is
that on the
everything...
show now.
Thanks. Oh, good. That was Eric saying it's the 15th. So, are we going? Can everybody see us and everything?
Yeah, we got 18 people in the chat room, it looks like.
Well, guess what? Guess who's in a bad mood at the beginning of the show again? Me. So fucking hot again. So hot. Anyway, it's just been so fucking hot, man. People got to recycle. People have to start recycling. Everybody in the chat room, are you recycling or what? Because this keeps getting hotter. It's ridiculous. I mean, I've been recycling, but it's not changing the temperature. It's ridiculous.
Chevron's going to start recycling too. I just watched on the news.
Oh, it's not their fault. They're a company. They're just doing what they have to do. It's our fault because we're doing stuff that's unnecessary. Only companies do things that are necessary. People are just in the way. Okay, so I'm not drinking that Jot this week. Not drinking that Jot this week.
Too bad.
It fucked me up. Well, you know, it probably would make the show better because it snapped me out. If I don't know if I was in a bad mood at the beginning of last week's show, but I usually start the show in a bad mood because it's right after I deal with the wires. I mean, right after I plug everything in, how can you be in a good mood after you're fucking walking around with armfuls of spaghetti you don't understand, you know? Digital spaghetti. I'm walking around with 14 wires, sweating my ass off. It reminds me of how old I am. The whole thing is depressing. And so then I get on this thing and I'm sweating and there's wires everywhere. And I've got a bunch of boxes stacked up with the microphone on it, which it's kind of a wide box they're on. So my legs have to be spread really far apart while I'm talking. So I'm sitting away that's completely unnatural. I'm sitting like a 1970s bus driver. You know what I mean? Because they had those big wheels that were kind of flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you grab the bottoms of it with your hands. And for some reason, I picture their legs being spread wide. But I never sit like this. I guess you could call it legs akimbo.
You just made me think of those.
Man, it's hot here.
Remember when school buses were stick shift?
Oh, yeah. I fucking do remember that.
Yeah, I remember the big fat pedals under their feet.
Yeah, those like bluebirds.
They like grind the gears and be like.
Yep. Yeah, and they were all people who had like weird glasses and stuff. You know, like everybody who drove the bus was like obviously like down and out in some way. You know, like people would not be allowed to drive. First of all, parents now I'm sure don't put their kids on buses unless they do a full background check of the person behind the wheel. Back then, it was just like any old hitchhiker or I don't know where they got them. You know what I mean? But it was not. They were clearly all like sex offenders and murderers.
And I'm pretty sure they did have stick shifts like early on, and then they went automatic. I remember when they went automatic. I think.
I don't know. I guess that stick shifts probably helped out the Misfits because the Misfits were like, listen, do you know how to drive a bus stick shift? And they were like, yes, you know, and they were like, all right, it's good enough. I don't want to ask any more questions because it seems to me, judging from the glasses frames you've chosen, I don't want to know. So just get in there and drive those kids to school. You couldn't be a bus driver in 1975 unless you'd been in Vietnam.
Right. And we were picked up on the same bus, right? At one point.
Yeah, I just remember, I guess I'm thinking of also The Simpsons kind of has it right. Like the bus driver on The Simpsons is kind of that vibe. Just like kind of a, crazy person.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just funny because really parents would never put their kids on the buses that we were on in 1978 because the bus drivers like, just didn't wash their hair and had like comb overs and stuff. And, there's no way. Parents now would be like, you're not putting my genius on there.
They have pocket protectors, I think.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. Whatever Vietnam veterans were wearing when they were like so like not just pissed off, like just got back. They're like, what jobs are available for me? And they're like, oh, Vietnam, people don't like that. You could maybe be a bus driver for children.
You kids don't know how good you have it.
Just children won't complain. You could probably work with children because they can't like complain about your body odor. So yeah, you could be a bus driver. Kind of like opposite world. Although, kids do kind of get stuck with parents are busy and they don't want to really, they kind of want to deal with their kids, but they also kind of don't want to, so they kind of do. Kids end up having to deal with a lot of weirdos, I think, because parents just don't want to deal with them. So they're like, they want the kids to be dumped off somewhere so they can go to spin class and they don't care. I mean, to some extent, they're just like, all right, you look 75% reliable. I'll leave my kid with you. I wasn't planning on doing a childcare show. At all.
No. When we missed the bus, so we would walk home a mile and we would see 6 packs of like Rolling Rock and Miller High Life. That always a big memory for me.
Yeah,
like
no
empty sip pack. They're all empty cans and stuff.
Yeah, because we used to drink beer, drink beer. We were underage and we didn't want the cans around or the bottles around. So we just threw them out the fucking window. We would drink like 48 in a night. We just throw them all over the road. And then kids would be like, well, yeah, kids would be walking through a minefield. They get off the bus with the bus driver
A minefield.
wearing a fanny pack full of porno mags or whatever he was wearing. And then they go straight into a minefield of broken bottles and more porn that other men had thrown out the windows because they didn't want to throw it in their own garbage at home. So, I mean, a lot of people were just throwing out stuff that was incriminating. Like young people were throwing all the beer out the window because they didn't want to take any of it home and throw it away. Men, because they couldn't get pornography on their phones, were driving around in their cars and looking at it and then throwing it out the windows. Hitting kids in the head with like flying hustlers was like one of the biggest injuries for kids. Like, my kid lost an eye to a flying hustler magazine. That was like a 1978 injury. Now kids don't go outside or anything, so they're safe. Their eyes are safe. Their brains, that's another story. They're experts at Bitcoin mining. My kid is a genius. He's great at Bitcoin mining and he wants to be an influencer. He's fucking already got 80,000 followers and he's only 4. So, I mean, he's doing great. Has he ever been outside? Fuck no. I wouldn't let him out there. Are you crazy? They're not getting a hold of my genius. This kid loves iPads. Just loves them. Oh, man. All right. Well, at least we got out of the fucking zone of talking about childcare safely. Without me saying anything about sex offenders, like without me saying sex offender too many times. So, but I do feel like a lot of, and then I jump back into it, but I just remember, like kids were on the streets, and it's just like, there was nothing. If you couldn't get to a payphone, it was game over. You know what I mean? Like if some creep just found a spot where there were no payphones, it was pretty much a free for all for anybody. If they wanted to murder people or kidnap people or whatever, it doesn't matter. It was just, that was it. The gamble was, can you run to the payphone before I push you into my Nova? That was the game.
And do you have enough change to use the payphone?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's why movies suck now, because no one has to fumble for payphones when they're getting chased by murderers. Now you just use their cell phone and the movie's over. No good. No one has to put the lotion in the basket anymore.
I remember when a payphone was 10 cents.
Fuck yeah, I remember that too. Why? Did they go up?
They went up to 25.
How much is a payphone now? My God, 25 cents? The world's gone to hell. That would have been me on this podcast in like 1987. If I was this age, I'd be like, payphones are 25 cents. So, I mean, that's about all you need to know about American culture. It's fucked. Oh my God. It's so funny to think about what the complaining must have been like, like how before the internet, all complaints were minor. Like, I really feel like, now it's like, I know every generation is like, oh, well, you're just a new generation. So every generation thinks their generation is the worst. But I can say that any generation that didn't have social media, which is everyone before ours, was better than ours. But I just like the idea of people bitching back in the old days, like about stuff that doesn't seem very bad now, like expensive payphones or like, I don't know what they complained about. I guess I'm thinking about all kid stuff now. So like candy bars are getting shorter and they're like 10 cents more.
Well, just think about what the bad thing that's coming down the pike that's going to make social media seem good.
Well, it's going to be water up to our eyeballs is what it's going to be.
Or it's going to be genetic engineering.
Or it's going to be us frying like hotcakes on the surface of the earth.
It's going to be wires inside our bodies.
Oh, well, yeah. It's going to be genetic engineers. You're right. It's going to be robots. That'll be so bad. I mean, that I definitely am not going to be around for enough. I mean, I'm not going to be around. I think I give myself about 8 more years and I'd be, if I make it to 60, I'm good. I mean, I didn't expect to make it this far. I was planning on dying young.
Well, think about 60. It makes me think of Norm Macdonald, 61.
That sucks. Yeah, that's just really young. And that actually made me think about my own mortality because I'm 52 and he used to smoke a lot. A real lot when he was younger, like packs a day.
Oh.
But I used to smoke a pretty good amount when I was younger, so you just never know, actually, I was watching a Norm talk show appearance. I was watching one of those, like one of those compilations on YouTube of Norm's talk show appearances, which I always watched from time to time. I would watch those just over the last 10 years. Like if I had nothing to do, his talk show appearances are always just incredible, especially when he tells his jokes, like the long moth joke. Did you happen to see the moth joke?
I saw that, and then I watched the one you posted about the
Scrabble.
bed and breakfast.
Scrabble's that's like my favorite one. That's my favorite. I mean, that just the whole to make a story about Scrabble that fucking funny is like, that's just not many people can do that. He made that story fucking hilarious. Like just when he says that Harold Delaney took a half an hour and then put hat on the triple word score without like connecting to it at all, and like Norm going like, because if you were doing that if a stranger did that you wouldn't be able to, like the first time they did it, you'd be like, oh, okay. Like you couldn't right away. Like I love the slow burn, how Norm got gradually madder until he finally challenged him, and the guy was like, you never heard of a boot? I mean, that's the best story ever. That's just the best story. I mean, it's so good.
I like that he went to a bed and breakfast and the guy didn't make him breakfast.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing. It's great. Yeah, and he asks him for an Egg McMuffin. I mean, it's a perfect joke. It's incredible. If you guys didn't see it, it's on my Instagram at The Crofton Show, but it's also just Google any of Norm's Conan appearances or Letterman appearances, or, those are the best. He did his best, I think, actually on Conan. I think Conan loved him. Conan would crack up so hard when he was on. Did you see the Courtney Thorne-Smith thing?
No.
Where she was in the movie with Carrot Top. She was on what do you call it? Not Knots Landing. That's payphone territory right there. Knots Landing's from like 1980. I'm thinking about Melrose Place. Melrose, similar to Knots Landing, except not set on a ranch or whatever. But Courtney Thorne-Smith was in a movie with Carrot Top, and I forget, just because Norm was on the couch with her, so Norm was sitting right next to Courtney Thorne-Smith, and she's trying to promote this movie that she's in with Carrot Top coming out. Right. And she's like back when TV stars could only get in shitty movies. So she's on Melrose Place, so no one takes her seriously as an actor. So she's in this movie with Carrot Top, and it's called Chairman of the Board, but they don't say the name of it, but I forget what he does, but it's so good. He just says like, he says there, he's like, what's the name of it? Conan goes, what's the name of it? And Norm says, with Carrot Top in it, it's called Box Office Poison. Like he just keeps. Anyway, he just didn't have any boundaries. Like he ruined Courtney Thorne Smith's, and then he said the real name of it was chairman of the board, and Conan just goes, try and do something with that, you freak, and he goes, board is spelled Bored, and that was the end of her. It was just so good. Anyway, he was the genuine article. I mean, the only thing that bothered me about him, and it really did, and I hate to say it, but he always did. He was homophobic in this way that was kind of. I mean, all his jokes, like he would constantly talk. He was obsessed with saying stuff about gay people to a point where it made him seem kind of adolescent to me. Like anytime he was on like Howard Stern or anything like that, he really went off. But he would do it on Conan and stuff too. And it's an example of. I'm not trying to like cancel Norm Macdonald. It just always made me. He was an odd guy, and sometimes an odd guy gets through, and it's so refreshing because everyone else is so calculated. And I always took him like he just likes to make jokes about gay people, like you know what I mean. He couldn't stop, for some reason, but well,
I thought
that was part of him.
His when he performed on Letterman for the last time, it was really sad and emotional, and for the two of them, and
he's amazing.
It occurred to me that he and Letterman are a lot alike as far as their humor is really dry and mean.
Yes,
yeah.
I guess I never forgot. Like he was on Conan, and he told this great story about rehab. But when he was telling it, he said he woke up in a man's room and they were in separate beds, which turned out to be a rehab. But he thought he had spent the night with a man because he blacked out. And I just remember back then he said, and we were in separate beds. And I know, gay people, they're the most decadent people on earth. So they would never be sleeping in separate beds. And Conan about had a nervous breakdown. So he always was saying that kind of stuff.
Right.
Which I don't know what his purpose was. I think maybe he was just being like difficult. Which I can relate to. Anyway, it's just something that crossed my mind. Because I also do think that people who are famous already get a pass for stuff they've said. It's like the up and coming people who say stuff and get really reamed because people have nothing to gain from them. You know what I mean? If you cancel someone who's up and coming, it's like, who cares? What do you lose? You're not attached to them emotionally. It was kind of like when Michael Jackson didn't get canceled. It's because people loved him too much.
Yeah.
It's the people you don't give a fuck about that you cancel the most effortlessly. Anyway, that's another thing I really don't feel like talking about, but this is where cold brew is taking me.
Well, Norm Macdonald was Canadian also, so Canadians are just mean-spirited in general.
Yeah, anybody who anybody who's listening, anybody who's really followed Norm knows what I'm talking about. He constantly made gay jokes. So it's just something I noticed, but he was beloved. So people took the good with the bad in a way. Anyway, that's just something I've been thinking about. It's a difficult topic, and I love Norm Macdonald because he's fucking absolutely funny and he's a true original and he made it through. He's one of the actual eccentrics that made it through in show business instead of some calculated piece of shit like Ryan Seacrest or, I don't know, Courtney Thorne Smith. She seems fine actually, but okay. So today we're doing, I don't want this show to become like nothing but Bigfoot, although that'd be a great name for a show. But it's gonna be, I don't know how many people in this Gimlin room, how many hot storks over there. I don't know how many of them are aware of, you guys are aware, power directors are aware of Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. But it's a great show. He had a show called Arthur C. Clarke's Strange Monsters. He had a show called Arthur C. Clarke's Paranormal. I mean, he was a science fiction author who was interested in weird shit, but he was also had a pretty scientific approach to it. He was kind of a skeptic, but he did have it was kind of like an In Search Of show. if you remember, In Search Of, which was hosted by Leonard Nimoy back in the 70s, and it was all about paranormal shit. So this is like a paranormal show. It's more in depth than In Search Of, and it was the show where I saw the Japanese scientists who were in the swamp with the giant PA speaker playing what they thought was the sound of the extinct bird. If you heard the last show, the last show we had the duck that says "You bloody fool," and it reminded me of
Eric, I think, has a sample of that.
So anyway, yeah, the bloody fool duck. If you saw that, there it is. If you saw that one, then you know what I'm talking about the Japanese scientists who thought they were looking for this 7-foot tall bird that had gone extinct in the 1800s, and they made up what they thought was probably what it sounded like when it made a noise, and they ran around a swamp with a huge, like a PA speaker they got from like a fucking drag strip, and an analog reel to reel in the water, like holding them above their heads in a swamp. Anyway, it was great. And that was an Arthur C. Clarke episode, but I can't find that one. I've been looking for it forever. So let's just check out this first clip. It's I think this one is, what is this one? Eric, let's just roll it. I'm not sure what it is. Oh, by the way, what did I want? By the way, this shit is all happening in like Arthur C. Clarke was a British guy, so this is all happening in like England, which is kind of annoying, but it makes the outfits really good. 1970s England outfits were even like, and facial hair and stuff were even in some ways more avant-garde than American.
This happened to a Norwegian ship, and this was the monster reported by HMS Daedalus. The crew of the city of Baltimore saw the head of a serpent in the Gulf of Aden, and the bowsprit of the British banner was chewed up by a serpent in 1860. The only systematic attempt to analyze reports of the sea serpent has been launched by 2 Canadian scientists, John Seibert and Paul LeBlanc. They've concentrated on the coastal waters off Vancouver. Dozens of sightings were reported.
There were at least 25 of them who would describe species not really known to marine biology.
Seashell, a 30-minute flight.
Hold on, you pause it. Why does that guy need a PA system in a plane that small? Why was he yelling? That plane's only like, it's like a 4-seater. Why does he have a microphone? Look at that guy.
That guy's fully caffeinated.
Oh, fuck yeah. He's like, are we bringing the coffee maker? You're drinking coffee right now. I know, but I feel good, and I just want to make sure we're going to have more of the goodness with us. You're not going to yell into that loudspeaker thing, are you, again? Now, because last time you had 2 cups of coffee, you yelled in that loudspeaker. That you can hear. I can hear you in that plane. You don't need to use that fucking speaker thing. I won't use it. I promise I won't use it.
Sticking your nose in a coffee bag. There ain't a whole hell of a lot better than that.
I remember last time it fucking electrocuted your mustache. Look at that man. That looks like a bus driver from the 1970s, actually, pretty much exactly. He's like, your next stop, Thurton Drive. That was when me and Greg grew up on Thurton Drive. That's what our bus driver totally looked like. And it had a similar cockpit, really. All right, so what's this guy screaming about? And who's that guy in the back? I mean, all these people were so just no background checks. Let's put it that way. No background checks on any of these people. So let's I mean, that's a great shot though. I just want to bask in this because I want to put it on Instagram, like this picture of this guy and me and Greg.
It's probably hot on the plane too. He just put his.
I'm gonna make a reaction. I'm gonna make a reaction shot. Sorry, Gimlins. I just want to do one. This is like, I'm gonna be like extra shocked by this guy's appearance. Okay, good. Okay, he also looks a lot like, I don't know if you guys are all wrestling fans, but he looks a lot like Butcher Vachon. Do you guys know who Paul Butcher Vachon is? Or Maurice Vachon? That looks like a lot like a wrestler, and he may be a wrestler because there were no background checks. So he's supposed to be a scientist, but he could just be a caffeinated wrestler.
He's got no seatbelt on or anything.
No, of course not. He's like, and now we are approaching the Straits of Balthazar. And they're like, we haven't left the ground yet. Sorry. Are we bringing the coffee maker? Where did you get that microphone? It's never in here unless you're in here. No one else has ever used that. Where did you find that? Don't worry about it. He said, "Oh, we can. I wish we could make that guy's mouth say cold brew got me like into that thing." Hey, is there a way, Eric, in post we can put my mouth over that guy's mouth, talking into just my lips, going cold brew got me like into that microphone? Because then we'll be rich.
Cold brew.
All right,
got
well, let's see
me
what's
like.
happening over in Nova Scotia or wherever the action was back then. Also, the action centers were so much, it's like there was so much more going on in like the Straits of Balthazar or wherever they fucking are. Like, I just feel like Canada was a lot more action packed back then with like paranormal investigations. Like, I feel like Canada's really fallen off as far as, scientific punk rock. And this is this guy's grunge. Like for me, it was me and Greg, it was like 93, 94, going to see Fugazi shows. This was this guy's grunge. He remembers these days. He's like, man, those were the days when science was science. When you just had a harmonica microphone and a beard and you were screaming in a plane.
Well, they're going to look for people who have witnessed this creature. Right? Like 20, at least 25 people have seen it.
Yeah, they're going to see this creature that obviously must not have panned out because we haven't heard anything about it. It's like 30 years later. I doubt they found anything.
He's like, we have so many people to visit. We won't even have time.
There are so many monsters up here. It's going to be difficult to see them all. If we even see 1/10 of the number of monsters that we are told are up here, it would be more than 8 times what they've seen in the whole world up until now. So let's go. Maurice, we're in the airport. We haven't even gotten on the plane yet. Did you have that in your suitcase? That fucking microphone thing? I don't know. It's part of the coffee maker. Maybe it's part of a coffee maker. Oh my God, I'm screaming into the filter. Someone call an ambulance.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh God. Oh man.
All right, let's roll it.
Known to marine biology.
Seashelt, a 30-minute flight north of Vancouver, is the location of yet another report needing investigation.
Pause it real quick. Pause it again. He couldn't even wait 30 minutes to say that shit. There's a 30-minute flight, and he pulled out the fucking vacuum cleaner tube and started screaming in it. Like, we're like, we already know all this stuff. We are about to go. We just left. Stop saying that. All right, now we're about to see more people in with big collars talking about imaginary monsters. All right.
A local boy, John Andrews, was fishing off a pier when his sighting occurred.
Could you tell us exactly what it looked like?
I guess it looked pretty much like a long snake-like thing with fins on it. And at first sight of it, I saw a head about 1.5 feet long, about 8-9 inches wide. And it had large cat-like eyes, and they reflected light like a cat's, and they could move in opposite directions.
Please pause it. Son, are you sure you didn't see a cat? Is it possible you saw a cat? It had cat-like eyes? It was wet? A wet cat? Do you smoke weed, son? Oh, God. All right. This is the same guy. This reminds me of, this guy reminds me of the fucking Yowie guy. Similar rich kid telling lies vibes.
Looking at me and one at the bottom. And then I noticed that it was about thickness of my thigh, almost a foot around.
The body of the animal.
Yeah. The body itself. And it was, after it had swum underneath me, I noticed it was probably about 40 or 50 feet long.
Oh, fuck. Pause it
Yeah,
for a
it had,
second. No, can you just take it back? We got to look at that guy's face again. Because, I mean, there are no coincidences. I hadn't really looked at this footage closely, but that's a bus driver. That is a 1970s bus driver. I mean, I don't know why I was wasting my time describing one when he's right there. That's what a 1970s bus driver looked like. That's what parents were willing to put their kid on the bus with in the 1970s, with only payphones out there. And most kids did not have dimes. So
And
anyway,
his wife knitted that hat.
oh, totally. But under direct, she was like, here's your fucking hat. I'm gone. I'm leaving. If I hear one more word about sea monsters for the rest of my life, that's too many. Enjoy your fucking hat. This marriage was a giant ripoff.
Maybe you need a hobby too.
Yeah, maybe you should knit something for once instead of going around in planes screaming into vacuum tubes or parts of coffee makers. You're a real disappointment. You didn't see one, did you? You hired that plane with our money we were supposed to go to Aruba with, and you didn't see one sea monster, did you? He's like, well, I got a good description of one that sounds very promising. Fuck off! We're still doing readouts. We're going to take it back to the shut the fuck up. I'm leaving. And I'm taking the iguana. They have a pet iguana in this scenario. Okay, so this guy, I just like this guy. He's like, it was about the length of a cat. It had cat eyes, had cat ears. He also said it was around a foot around like his thigh. And the guy goes, that's the width of a creature? No, it's the width of my thigh. You know what I mean? The guy says, is that... Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't want to give this guy too much shit. Let's see. Maybe he can redeem himself.
Did it have fins?
Yeah, it had 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and it swam undulated, like up and down instead of side to side. And it swam right under me.
It's difficult to say what kind of creature John saw. It certainly doesn't match well with any kind of known mammal or any kind of known fish for that matter. The long snake-like body suggests that it's not a mammal, but its up and down undulation motion is typically mammalian.
We found that there were about 3 main categories of strange animals which had been reported. One of them was serpentine, of the kind that John Andrews described to us. There was another one with a long neck and rather coarse hair of like coconut fibers, as it was described by one witness. And a third category also had a long neck, but was sometimes mentioned to have a mane, and sometimes also mentioned to have horns.
Oh, okay. Please pause it. Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. People describe things back in the 70s differently, too. Like, who the fuck would... If you were describing it... Imagine if you saw a creature now in 2021 and someone asked you what it looked like, and you were like, it was about the same width around as my thigh, and had hair like coconut fiber. What a crazy these people are operating under different. It's like a different language.
These guys would have made a lot of money if they were alive today with their own YouTube channels.
Oh, definitely. If people put half the effort into their outfits that this man does, I mean, you'd have followers right away. It'd be like a fashion blog / abandoned mine exploration instead of just plain old, I watch abandoned mine explorations all the time. People put no effort into their facial hair or their outfits.
Right.
This guy's like, he looks like a designer. He looks like Yves Saint Laurent. If Yves Saint Laurent, he's like Yves Saint Laurent's for like a less successful brother.
So Arthur C. Clarke was an author? Well,
yeah, he was a science fiction author, and he famously said he on his show, he said one of my favorite things, because he was a skeptic, but he believed out of all the strange monsters and creatures he believed mostly in the Bigfoot. He said that was the one he thought was most possible, or the Yeti. And he thought those were the most reliable stories and the most possible from a scientific standpoint that they could be real. So he just said, if I had $100, I would put 10 on Bigfoot, 40 on the Yeti, and keep 50 for myself, which I just always loved that. I just thought that was the greatest you know, I don't know why I like hearing people talk like that, but I just prefer it to hearing about like the Met Gala.
Yeah, Putin.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, I'd rather hear a guy talk about how much money he would wager on which monster any day of the week instead of just fucking Trump and Biden and all this bullshit.
Also, he was host of the show, so he actually, Arthur C. Clarke was not out talking to these people.
No, he was like, they went like back to the studio.
They just used his name for this. So he was he co-wrote 2001: A Space Odyssey. I remember that.
Okay, so at some point, we'll all, as a show, as Cold Brew Got Me, like the show, we will watch, hopefully in a live special event. Maybe we can all watch Devil at Your Heels, and someday when pandemic's over, we could all watch Devil at Your Heels, in a theater at some point as a group, meaning power directors and us and everybody. And we'll have a live Cold Brew Got Me but yeah, in Devil at Your Heels, the main stuntman, Ken Carter, like at one point, Evel Knievel shows up and like assesses a stunt he's doing. And so that's like Arthur C. Clarke's like the voice of reason, that kind of thing on this thing. Like they go back to him and he's like, well, it's certainly an interesting proposition. I didn't see anything that convinced me on that footage, but that's not to say it isn't out there. Like that's the kind of thing he did. You know what I mean? He was just like, well, it seems to me these men are just over caffeinated and have wild imaginations, but there's always a chance that they could be right. We'll be right back.
So if this was grunge, then that he would be the owner of Sub Pop.
This guy, or yeah,
Clarke.
totally. And this band, this guy right here would be like one of their probably less successful bands, like maybe like Bad. Yes, he was like assessed there. He's like the new single from
these morons.
These guys who are like, well, this description of this thing we've never seen definitely sounds different than other descriptions we've heard of other things. This is a new kind of description for something we've never seen as compared to other descriptions. Have you ever seen anything besides? Have you ever heard anything besides descriptions? Well, no. I mean, there's no reason this man would lie. There's no reason to doubt this man's story. If he says he saw a snake cat in the water, who am I to? It's 1978. People aren't lying like they used to. I mean, if it was 1912, I would say this is a publicity stunt. But, you know, we've arrived. It's 1978. Things are up and running. People aren't lying like that.
Clarke was born in Somerset, England in 1917. He was a lifelong proponent of space travel. In 1934, he joined the British Interplanetary Society. In 1945, he proposed a satellite communication system using geostationary orbits. And then this is the interesting part to me. Clarke immigrated to Ceylon, Ceylon, now Sri Lanka, in 1956 to pursue his interest in scuba diving. That year, he discovered the underwater ruins of the ancient Konswarma Temple. So he did it himself underwater.
He found the Konswarma Temple?
Yeah.
Can you hit the Cold Brew Got Me Like button, please?
Cold Brew got me like.
The metal. Can you hit the heavy metal?
Sri Lanka until his death. That's amazing. Who would have thought that would happen?
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much, Eric. So yeah, there's not much more cold brew than discovering an underwater temple. You know, I think that Arthur C. Clarke talks about his personal life. I think he had he may have had he lived with some man on a big estate in Sri Lanka. I don't know if it was his boyfriend or whether they were, I don't know what it was, but there's he ended up living in Sri Lanka with some man, and they had this giant estate, and he would spend his time, he loved Sri Lanka, which was called what? Ceylon back then? Ceylon.
That's right. Is that the correct pronunciation?
I don't know. I just know that I know that that's a word I've seen. I did not know that was the old name of Sri Lanka, but I have seen that word, Ceylon.
Hey, I'm speaking on the show. He actually funded a couple movies for that guy in Sri Lanka. Like they made
did what?
movies together in Sri Lanka. They made like a few movies.
Was it his partner?
Yeah,
Was like it his,
I think,
or was it like his like life partner, or was it like just a business? I think they were married.
Clark funded those movies. That's all I know.
Well, man, they had a cold brew estate. That's what's going to happen if we get some money. Hey, everybody, please do some subs so me and Greg can move to Sri Lanka and have a platonic. I've gone mad. But we can move to Sri Lanka and make movies with me and Eric and Greg on an estate. And Eric, I know I haven't pitched this to you, Eric, but you have to come.
We could have gotten diving lessons from Arthur C. Clarke. He mostly lived in Colombo and set up a small diving school and a dive shop.
Well, these guys are all narcissists. I mean, I can't imagine, like, Arthur C. Clarke was a narcissist too. So they're all just waiting for their chance to speculate. That's what was like speculation central. But it still is. I mean, there's nothing, Anyway, Arthur C. Clarke would have been talking underwater. You know what I mean? He would have been taking out his mouthpiece and being like, they're all like, they can't stop. You know what I mean? He'll be like, that coral reef is a blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's see more of this guy talking nonsense.
Head looking like that of a sheep or like that of a giraffe.
None of the witnesses in the survey were professional artists. But it's clear enough from the drawings in their questionnaires what they thought they saw.
Can you play that door slamming sound? Oh, fuck.
This is John Andrews' sketch of his sighting. Margaret Stout saw this in 1961, and David Miller saw this creature off Discovery Island. But it may be...
Oh, my God. Oh, sure he did. Ooh. Oh, fuck. Uh-huh. I read. Do you see that one arrow that's going to the eye? It says I read. Oh my God. What is that other thing? Is it like the periscope of a submarine? Are they fighting? What the fuck is that? Wow. These guys were all just, I mean, these are all.
That's Arthur C. Clarke's snorkel.
This is like, yeah, this is like fucking, this is Nova Scotia shit, man. Everyone back then was an alcoholic. They all like fell asleep in a tree and needed a story for their wife. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm sorry, I saw this. She's like, you motherfucker. You and Smitty were drinking in a tree again, weren't you? No, I was up all night chasing around this. Look, I'll do a drawing. I'm divorcing you. Fuck.
They were lucky, too, because when they fell out of the tree and broke their leg, they actually had health care.
Did they?
Yeah.
78?
Yeah, insurance hadn't gone to shit yet.
In Nova Scotia?
Definitely in Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia, they probably gave him liniment. You know, do you think so? They had public health care in the 70s?
In Canada? Yeah.
Yeah, but what kind of health care was it? In the parts of the country where the people were doing drawings like this, they probably just gave them like a lucky salamander foot. Told them to go home and take a nap. You know what I mean? I don't think the medicine, well, I mean, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I didn't think I would imagine medicine in Nova Scotia at this time would be like, drink some bourbon and shut up.
I was just saying that those were better. These were simpler times. These are better times.
Well, let's see what this thing says real quick. I read small ear. What do you think the chances are that the director drew this? All right, well, let's get to the next video. We'll come back to this maybe someday, but I want to see another video, and let's check in with the power directors. Let's check in with the Gimlins. Okay, so I'm coming to Nashville to do a half-hour show. Well, it's part of the Americana Music Festival, September 26th, which is Greg's birthday. And I'll be there September 26th at the 5 spot. And then I was thinking I might do another show on the 29th, a comedy show at the East Room. And I was wondering if that was a good idea. I don't know. From a COVID standpoint in Nashville, I don't know what the hell to do about it. But I could possibly do a stand-up show on September 29th. Anyway, I'll keep everybody posted. If anybody in the chat room is near,
are they doing comedy shows
Nashville,
at the East Room?
They are, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Right, but you know better than I do if it's safe.
Well, I mean, it's in the news that we're not doing so well in Tennessee.
Yeah, I know. I wrote a column today. My new advice king's about Kate says happy birthday, Greg.
Thank you.
So I wrote the advice king about getting vaccinated because my friend from Nashville, Betsy Phillips, had to reschedule her surgery. Well, she didn't have to reschedule it. She was just told she couldn't have it because there's no hospital beds. And she has a cyst pressing on her windpipe, and she's having trouble breathing. And she was supposed to get surgery 2 weeks ago. You can look up her story because it got picked up by the Washington Post and Newsweek and stuff. She wrote it originally for the Nashville Scene, but it's a story about her. She can't get surgery in Tennessee right now because of unvaccinated people in COVID beds. So I wrote about it. So check out the Advice King this week. It's on my Instagram at The Crofton Show, or you can just go to NashvilleScene.com and check it out. But it's a pretty angry one. Because it is, this I guess the part of it that makes me mad is that the Republicans that keep talking about it being a personal choice. It's not a personal choice. It's a lie. When you have a contagious disease, it's not a personal choice. And that's such an obvious thing. And the fact that they keep trying to deflect and convince themselves otherwise. And they're like, oh, well, the vaccine's not very effective. It doesn't matter if it's even a little bit effective. You have a responsibility to get it. And the whole column's about that we live in a fucking society. And I have an interesting point about it. Oh, thanks, Kate, about missing the show. I'm hoping it'll be, I'll figure it out. But anyway, just talking about maybe, I think I might be performing September 29th in Nashville at the East Room, but it's not definite. And I'll let you guys know. But mainly, please subscribe to this channel so me and Greg can move to Sri Lanka. And Eric. Eric has to go. He doesn't want to go, but he has to go. He's just part of our business model. So so I was just interested in the fact that the reason why people think it's so weird. This culture has convinced everybody that they've done everything themselves. Like, because this, oh God, I keep hitting the microphone. Because this society, anyway, all the cooperation and stuff has led to people basically being able to be at their house and order food and have everything done through the internet. And they've mistaken that to mean that they do everything themselves and that everyone can just be a self-sustaining person. But it's all based on community. It's just not clear. It's like all this technical advancement has made everyone feel like they don't need community and that they've done it themselves because they look around and they're like, all I need is my fucking computer and I'm self-sustaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the very nature of this culture now makes it appear to people that they've done everything themselves and don't need anyone else. And all you have to do is cut their internet, or there's no gas at the gas station, or there's no food at Trader Joe's, there's no more Grubhub, and they find out that that's not the case. But right now, everyone's feeling like, oh, I don't need anything. I get food delivered to me. I get gas whenever I need it. I just drive around my big old Dodge Ram truck, and I did it all myself. And it's just funny that this society has become, modern society has become so quote unquote convenient for the wealthy that they actually think that they don't need anything. And that's why they're confused about supply chains and stuff. Because as far as they're concerned, everything comes out of the air for them. They just make phone calls. Everything's delivered. They don't ever have to do anything as far as they're concerned that has anything to do with anyone else. And it's so stupid because people are like, yeah, it's a personal choice. There is no personal choices in a society. Everything affects other people. Personal choice is bullshit. I mean, you have freedom to an extent, But the idea of freedom is not that you just do whatever you want. It's just that you don't get bothered when you're like at your house privacy is a different thing than freedom. Freedom is because of cooperation, not in spite of it. Anyway, that's what the column's about. Because I just realized that in this current climate, it can make you feel like you don't need anybody. You just can sit at home and all your needs are taken care of. But they forget that's all based on community. And if you treat everyone like shit and everyone just disagrees with each other, no one's going to show up. If you treat all the people who are essential workers at the fucking grocery store like shit, they'll eventually all quit. And then there won't be, and they're noticing that. They're like, where's my society? Well, you're treating everyone like absolute shit. So they're all quitting their jobs because this isn't, you know what I mean? This isn't your world. It's everyone's world. It's just incredible, because they really are like, they think that people are just like, grocery stores are like pre-existing natural things, and that people who work there just have to work there, and so they'll go there and yell at them about masks and stuff. Those people will quit their jobs, and there will be no more convenience for you rich people, and then you'll get that this is a society. It's just it's kind of amazing, and it's horrible, and it's so dumb. That's the thing, is it's so dumb.
Well, that's what I was thinking about. I think maybe it's education system has just gotten so bad that we're starting to see the impact of that. So everyone thinks everyone's not educated anymore, and so they don't really know how to think.
Yeah, and because the people who are wealthy and powerful have made their money by gambling in the stock market and not by doing any actual work, so they've become increased. So many of the top. It's a long story. Let's get back to one more video before the end of the show. But well,
I'm just thinking about personal choice and people not wearing masks and not getting vaccinated. Like, I think maybe back in the 50s or 60s or 70s, more people were educated. I don't know. I mean, I know for sure public education has gone down the tubes.
Oh yeah, yes, and I think that it's also a consequence of like the people in power, as it's gotten narrower and narrower, the top, as the 1% has collected more and more of the money, there's just this narrow group of people who have all the power, and they live in a bubble, and they don't get touched by reality. They get touched by reality even less than like their grandpa that started the railroad in 1900, which is where all their money comes from, that they fucking gamble in the stock market and the capital gains that they don't want to pay taxes on and all that shit. That guy, at least, whoever their grandfather was who ran the railroad, at least had to deal with workers. He actually had to like deal with like putting track down and like locomotives. And I mean, I don't fucking know anything about trains, obviously. Let me explain. This is all based on seeing There Will Be Blood. So listen, I know a lot about the turn of the century. I know a lot about mining. Everyone back then was in a bad mood. So everyone was in a bad anyway. So yeah, like I mean, there's just these people are uniquely able to feel detached and like they are self-sustaining, and they're just not self-sustaining. It's like really fast they could find out. Like they're already like, why aren't there any restaurants? It's like, because you have to staff them with real people, and they're not like public. They're not like a watering hole for a deer. I mean, they think that they're just like, well, I made my money, so now it's time to just go to restaurants. Wait a minute. Where is everybody?
Right, but I'm also thinking about your friend who can't use the hospital because it's full of morons that didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah, because they're all out in Franklin, Tennessee, which is this wealthy suburb of Nashville, like where they had this mask. They had an anti-mask like riot pretty much, where they fucking like attacked the school board verbally, but then also came outside and said if they didn't get their act together, they knew where they lived, about putting masks on children. As if they make that sound like putting a mask on a child is just like the worst fucking thing in the world, which putting a mask on a child during a pandemic is like the mildest thing you'd have to. I mean, God, what would they do if their kids were getting polio? I mean, what would they do? They would just their heads would explode. I just, the more privileged, the more out of touch, and the more out of touch, the less beholden to your fellow man you feel. And I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but
no, that sums it up.
So anyway, the column's kind of about that. Okay, so we got a few minutes left. I think we can go over a little bit just because we started a little late. What does this say? Do you all think we should withhold care from the unvaxxed? I mean, I don't think that could never be done in any. I don't think that could be done. I mean, that couldn't be done. I mean, that couldn't be done in any way that wouldn't result in everybody, emergency rooms being just like places where people were fighting. But I mean, I understand the instinct. I don't know. It's very hard to say. Like, yes, I mean, like the people who are unvaxxed are the ones that are making it so my friend can't get surgery. So it's very difficult. It's a difficult thing. But the actual practicality of really denying someone care, I don't think that would work. You really have to just help anybody who's dying, and also that's part of their deal. Like as far as the Hippocratic.
Yeah, and I don't have any opinion about that either. It's like, who cares what I think? It's just more like this is what's happening. The hospitals are full because people aren't getting vaccinated.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. All right. Well, we're going to let's look a little bit at, you know what? Actually, let's check in with our friend, the guy who reviews stuff, and then we'll watch another Arthur C. Clarke thing next week, because I really think Arthur C. Clarke, this might be by the time you're done watching Cold Brew Got Me, like years from now, scientists in British Columbia in the 70s will be your new heroes. Forget about Eddie Vedder. It's going to be that guy screaming into the harmonica microphone about all the monsters they're going to see in the straits of whatever the fuck they were talking about, the Bering Strait or whatever it is. Okay, so that's let's check it. Can you do the third one, Eric? Our guy, hillbilly. What is it? Hillbilly Select Reviews. I think
Chris, are you referring to this guy?
Sticking your nose in a coffee bag. There ain't a whole hell of a lot better than that.
Can you please play that again? I fucking love
Sticking your nose in a coffee bag. There ain't a whole hell of a lot better than that.
That's incredible.
This happened to a Norwegian ship, and this was the monster reported.
Oh, those are some red hot drawings of cats in the water. Oh, nothing. It doesn't matter. Let's see this. That guy who just said there's nothing better than sticking your nose in a coffee bag is this guy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of Hillbilly Select Reviews. Hopefully you will subscribe right now.
Okay, so if you guys don't know this, the last couple shows we've had this guy on. We probably won't have him on anymore. I mean, this is just a guy who has a YouTube channel where he reviews stuff, and he calls himself Hillbilly. The name of the channel is Hillbilly Select Reviews, but I don't know what. He doesn't put any effort into the hillbilly part of it, because he just sits in this bathroom or wherever he is. But see what I mean? I used to think that thing behind him was like his wife's nightgown hanging on a shower rod.
Yeah, now we can see that.
Yeah, but it's like instead, it's like he's in the bathroom of like, I guess his house. Like, I mean, I don't know. He's like just somewhere in his house with this painting, I guess. It's really nice. Okay.
Then I confirmed this guy does have 3,000 subscribers. I couldn't believe it.
He's probably going to do a cease and desist on us. So, let's enjoy it while we can.
Why?
This might be the last appearance by this guy.
Because I do
this is a video he put up a couple days
liquors,
ago.
every kind of liquor there is. Liqueurs, beers, coffees, teas, unique
This is some of my favorite.
stuff.
Let's roll it back. My favorite thing is about how cocky he is about just listing what he reviews.
Subscribe right now. Why? Because I do wines, liquors, every kind of liquor there is. Liqueurs, beers, coffees, teas, unique stuff. I have a playlist that's amazing and has everything broken down, so easy to find. If you're hosting parties, buying gifts for somebody who enjoys any of the things I review, I have it broken down beautifully. So please subscribe. telling you. Man, opening up the wine here. What is it? Oak Ridge Estate Grown 2018 Lodi Cabernet Sauvignon. The simplest label you're ever going to see.
Terrible wine.
ABV 13.5%. On the back it says from Lodi's oldest operating winery since 1934. That is true. They sourced their grapes from 7,500 acres of estate vineyards in Lodi, California, which is an American viticultural area.
All right. I don't know if we ever going to need to watch this guy again. Because, I mean, here's an example. Okay, we just had a side-by-side. He has similar facial hair to these scientists, except just not as imaginative. He's not on an airplane. He's not screaming into an old-fashioned some sort of pneumatic tube. He's sitting in a bathroom with a less imaginative outfit, no cool hat, reviewing a wine that he obviously knows nothing about, not at all. He's reading the label. He's sitting there reading the label. Or he maybe has a Wikipedia in front of him. And he thinks he's the greatest artist that ever lived. It's so clear. It's written all over him. I mean, the level of arrogance that accompanies the lack of knowledge ties directly into what we've been talking about this whole show. Like, these people know nothing and are completely full of themselves, and we need to cut their electricity. We need to empty out Trader Joe's. We need to not staff restaurants. We need to teach these fucking people a lesson. Because he won't be able to review any fucking liqueurs if there's no more goddamn supply chain. This fool. This fool.
That light switch is upstaging him.
He's a fool. That's your... You're so right. This guy has so little to offer that he is being upstaged by a fucking light switch. I would rather look at that fucking light switch. Okay, well...
And he seems to specialize in reviewing crap. Like he reviews the worst of the worst, and that's his niche.
That is the worst 2018 Cabernet. I mean, there is a possibility you could get a Cabernet. I think it was a Cabernet that I know a little bit about wine just from being in the service industry so long and working at a wine bar. Part-time. But I mean, Oak, what is it? Oak? I forget what it is. That's just shitty wine. Yeah, I mean, you're not
Oak Ridge, I think.
It's like, you're not gonna, the review's going to be, this tastes like fucking wine. And that's what he always says. He says the coffee tastes like coffee, and he says whatever he says, it just tastes like what it is. That's what he says. He identifies products after you already know what they are. He's like, here's a wine. And then he tastes it and he says, it's a wine, all right. And that's his channel. And he has like 950,000 videos on the internet, and they're all worthless. And if they went offline tomorrow, no one would give a fuck. And even if his camera wasn't working right now, he'd probably still be doing it because he's insane. And he definitely looks like an anti-vaxxer to me. Something tells me he looks in the mirror and says, I could never get a virus. Look at my hair.
Yeah, he's gaslighting us about...
he's a nut. He's a nut.
Shit.
I want him to review that painting. I wish I could bust into his house and review that painting while he sat there, helpless.
It's
all right.
Texas where I am.
This has been cold. Go ahead. Go ahead, Greg.
I got nothing to say.
Are we done? Did you have anything to add, Greg? Do you want to say anything?
I think this is the last time we should ever see this guy's face.
I love it. All right, we're done. See you later at Hillbilly Select Reviews, and have a nice time in your bathroom with your cheap wine. Thank you all so much for coming to the show, and we'll see you next Wednesday.